Okay, I want to go ahead and talk about order of operations. Now, order of operation is a rule that tells the correct sequence of steps for evaluating mathematical expressions. So here what I have is something called parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, or we can call that PEMDAS. Now, parentheses are P. Those are the ones with brackets. We could have curly brackets or we could have square brackets, and those are the things that we have to handle first. Second, we have to handle something called exponents. Now, exponents are numbers being raised to some sort of power. For instance, this 2 raised to the second power, this 2 over here that's floating, that's our exponent. Now, multiplication and division, we handle that from left to right, whatever appears from left to right. We don't say multiplication then division. It's whatever appears first. Multiplication, that's the one with the times, the x, something you might encounter this, or maybe a dot. That's also a multiplication sign. Division is just this weird looking sign that looks like this, or you might have a number and then there's a bar underneath it, and then there's a number underneath that bar, right? 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Now, addition and subtraction. Addition, we're just adding things. It looks like this plus sign over here, and subtraction, that's minus. And the rule for addition and subtraction applies the same as the multiplication and division. It's whatever appears first from left to right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do some examples. We have number 1, we have 6 divided by 3 times 4. What I always like to do is I'm going to write PEMDAS, all right? So I write PEMDAS, and then I say, okay, well, do I see parentheses? That's my first step. Do I see parentheses? Well, I don't see parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. Do I see an exponent? Exponents, again, those are the numbers that are being raised to some sort of power. I don't see any exponents, so I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. But do I see multiplication or division? Now, when I'm handling multiplication and division, I see whatever appears from left to right. So I see that division comes first on the left side of the expression over here. So I said 6 divided by 3. I figure that out. If I don't know what that is, I can put that in my calculator, but I know that 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then I just rewrite everything that's left. So I have this times 4 that's left. So I write times 4 after the 2. And then, okay, I say 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is just 8, and that is my answer because there's nothing else for me to do at that point. If there's nothing for me to do at that point, that means I am done. That is my answer over there, okay? So that's all good. I don't need to do anything over there, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 2. I see 4 plus 9 times 6. Again, what I need to do is I'm going to write PEMDAS, because that's going to help me evaluate this expression. Do I see parentheses first? Well, I don't see any brackets. I don't see any curly brackets anywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and just skip that. Exponents, do I see some number being raised to some sort of power? No, so I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. And then again, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Those are the ones that are left, so I'm going to handle the third step. Do I see any multiplication from left to right? Do I see multiplication or division from left to right? Well, I see 9 times 6. That's the only thing that I see in this case. 9 times 6, that's going to be 54. And then again, I'm going to just rewrite everything that's left, which is plus 4. So I'm left with 4 plus 54. I can add those two and say that's 58. And you got it. That's my answer over there. Okay. Go ahead and do number 3. Again, getting the habit of writing PEMDAS. Do I see any parentheses? No. Do I see any exponents? Yes. So I have 2 raised to the third power. 2 raised to the third power is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2, that's going to be 4. 4 times 2, that's 8. So I'm going to write 8. And I'm going to rewrite everything that's left. 8 minus 7, that's going to be 1. Number 4, again, writing my PEMDAS, getting in the habit of doing so. Do I see any parentheses? No. Do I see any exponents? Yes. So this right here, 3 raised to the second power. My 2 is my exponent, so what's 3 squared? 3 squared is the same thing as 3 times 3, which is 9. Don't think it's 6. This is not saying 3 times 2, it's 3 raised to the second power, which you can follow along over here. So 36 divided by, well, what's 3 squared? We say 3 squared is 9, and I'm going to rewrite everything over there on the left side. 36 divided by 9, that's just going to be 4. Yes, that's going to be 4, and that is my answer. So I am done with that, and I'm going to go ahead and start crossing these out because I don't need to do anything else. Number 5, let's go ahead and rewrite parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Parentheses, do I see any parentheses? Yes, I do have these curly brackets over here. Now, that means I have to handle whatever is inside the parentheses and then rewrite everything else. So, 2 plus 5, that's just 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and rewrite everything. Just like so, okay? So I'm done with the P. I'm done with parentheses. Do I have an exponent here? I do. I have this 7 squared. Now, whenever you have the parentheses there, and wherever you want, if you don't know what 7 squared is, and you're trying to put the put in the calculator, if you see these parentheses, put the parentheses in the calculator as well, so you don't. So you're in a habit of getting the correct answers that way. So, we know that 7 squared is 49, so I have 150 minus 2. Well, if you have that 7 squared and you have this 49, right? If you have 49, what do I do? What do I put around that 49? Well, I got to put those parentheses because there's no operation in between but these parentheses here. So we got to assume that we're multiplying in this case. So we have 2 times 49, okay? All right, so I have 100 minus 2 times 49. 49 times 2, that is going to be, what is that going to be? What is 49 times 2? I'm not good with arithmetic in my head, so I have to do this. So that's going to be 98. So I have 150 minus 98. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what was I doing? What was I doing over here? I have 2 times 49. We're still in the phase of multiplying and dividing, right? Then we can go ahead and start adding and subtracting. Now I'm left with 150 minus 98. And if I put that in the calculator, that's just going to be, let's see, what is this going to give me? It's going to be 52. My answer is 52 in this case. There you go. Okay, let's go ahead and do number 6. Number 6 says 6 divided by 1 plus 2. Or sorry, 6 divided by 2 times 1 plus 2. Again, get in the habit of writing your PEMDAS on the right side. Parentheses, do I see any parentheses? I do. This 1 plus 2 over here, so I write 6 divided by 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. And I'm going to keep those parentheses there because there's no operation in between, just these parentheses, so we assume that's multiplication. 6 divided by 2 times 3. Alright, so again, we're in the phase of multiplication division. Again, what I have to do is we got to do whatever appears first from left to right in this stage. So I see that division is the one that appears on the left, so 6 divided by 2, that's just going to be 3, and then 3 times 3, that's just going to be 9, and that is my answer. Okay. Alrighty, let's go ahead and do this one. This one's a little longer. I'm going to write PEMDAS again. Do I see parentheses? I do. I see them over here. 20 minus 17, which is just 3. 5 minus 5 times 3 raised to the second power. Then I'm going to do plus 8 divided by 2. Do I see an exponent? I see them right there. So I have 5 minus 5, and then 3 squared is just 9. Right? 3 squared, 3 times 3, that's 9. We did that before. Plus 8 divided by 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out, okay, multiplication, division, we just got to figure out which one appears from left to right. I see that we have this negative 5 times 9, okay. This minus 5 can just play as a negative 5, so I can go ahead and just multiply these two numbers together. So I have 5 times negative 45. And then plus 8 divided by 2. Do I see anything else, multiplication or division? Do I see anything else over there? Well, I see this 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is actually 4. So 5 minus 45 plus 8 divided by 2, which is just 4. And it looks like I don't have any multiplication or division left, so I'm going to go ahead and just cross that out and then proceed to addition and subtraction. Do I see addition? Do I see subtraction? We got to do whatever appears from left to right. So I see 5 minus 45. I'm going to handle that operation first. 5 minus 44, I'm sorry, 5 minus 45, which is going to be negative 45. Yes, we can have negative numbers, so negative 45 plus 4. Negative 45 plus 4, if I put that in my calculator or do the math in my head, that is going to give me negative 41. That is my answer. Okay? Alright, so I have these examples over here, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to go ahead and just explain those to you. 2 squared, remember when we did, let's see, where is it? Oh, it's gone. I don't know where it is. Oh, this. Remember we showed that 3 squared is the same thing as 3 times 3? Well, we can figure this one out. 2 squared is the same thing as 2 times 2, and 2 times 2 is just 4. And that's my answer. Boom. And you can go ahead and use a calculator to verify that is true. Okay? Now over here, we have a negative 2 raised to the second power. Now, I need you to understand that this is the same thing. If you have a negative in front of that 2, or a negative in front of any number, that is the same thing as negative 1 times, and then this 2 squared. Right? So then, let's go ahead and just use our PEMDAS skills that we know and love. We do this in order. Do I see any parentheses? No. Do I see exponent? Yes. 2 squared, that's 4 times this negative 1. And I'm going to go ahead and proceed to the multiplication and division part. But there's only multiplication in this case. So negative 1 times 4 is just negative 4. And that is my answer. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on to 10. And they look very similar. 9 and 10 look very similar. But this one has parentheses. Now, what this is trying to say is that this 2 applies to the whole thing here. And over here, this 2 only applies to this 2, not the negative. That's why we write negative 1 times 2 squared. So, negative 2 squared with the parentheses, this is saying negative 2 times negative 2. And y'all, do you remember that a negative times a negative is equal to a positive? Well, that's going to be the case here. So we have 2 negatives over here. Negative 2 times negative 2. I know what 2 times 2 is. That's going to be 4. Negative 2 times negative 2. That is also 4, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. That's just going to be this answer. Okay? And I need you to understand the difference between these two because it's going to be very important as you move forward in this class. Alright, now let's go ahead and do number 11. We have 10 minus 2 times 10 plus 7 all over 8 plus 8 minus 3 times 1. Now, what's going on with this problem? Well, we have something called a fraction, and we can see there's a fraction bar over here, so we know that there's going to be a number divided by a number. It's going to be all division or some crap like that. So let's go ahead and just apply PEMDAS to actually the numerator and also to the denominator. So let's go ahead and handle that one by one. So actually, I have no idea why I got rid of that. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over here. Okay, so now let's, just by looking at the top, do I see any parentheses? Well, yes, I do. I see the parentheses here, but it's just a 10. There's no operation involved inside the parentheses. It's just a mere 10. So there's really nothing I could do, but you know that this is just multiplication. So do I see exponents? I don't see any exponents, so I'm going to go ahead and just move on. But I do see multiplication and division. Actually, I don't see any division. I just see multiplication, my bad. So I see this negative 2 times 10. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that. All right, so I have 10 times negative 2 times 10, which is negative 20 or minus 20, plus 7. Okay. Is there anything else I can do Here, yes I can. I have 10 minus 20, which is just negative 10. And then I have this plus 7, which is going to give me negative 3. So on the top part, I have negative 3. Now let's go ahead and handle the bottom part. Rewriting PEMDAS again. Do I see any parentheses on the bottom? Nope. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. Exponents, nope, I don't see any floating numbers. Multiplication and division, well, I have this negative 3 times 1, so I'll go ahead and just apply that. 8 plus 8 times negative 3. I'm sorry, 8 plus 8, and then you have this negative 3 times 1, which is going to be minus 3. And 8 plus 8 minus 3, I'm going to go ahead and move this over here. Well, what do I have to do? What do I need to do? Well, I need to go ahead and move on to addition and subtraction, saying, okay, whatever appears from left to right, 8 plus 8, that's involving addition, and that's going to be on the left side. 8 plus 8, that's going to be 16, minus 3, 16 minus 3, that's going to be 13. So I'm left with negative 3 divided by 13. And you can go ahead and put that in decimal form, but I like to keep it in simplified fraction form. If I can go ahead and simplify this, I would, but I don't need to because there's nothing that goes in. There's not a number that goes into negative 3 and 13 at the same time. So this is actually my answer. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about absolute values. An absolute value is basically how far a number is from 0. So what these little, vertical bars are, those are called absolute value signs, or just absolute value. Now what this is saying is, what is the absolute value of negative 3? So I'm going to draw a number line, and I'm going to have 0 and negative 3, and I'm going to go ahead and compare. How far is negative 3 from 0? Well, if I were to count this, that's just going to be 3, right? Because the distance the distance between negative 3 and 0 is actually 3, right? So I have negative 2, negative 1, and if I start counting, I have 1, 2, 3, and you got it. That's going to be my answer. So basically, you have to handle whatever's inside the parentheses and then make it positive. So if I say the absolute value of negative 5, you're just going to say it's 5, right? Or you can have something like the absolute value of 3 minus 5. And just like parentheses, what we have to do is we have to handle what's inside of the absolute value, then go ahead and make it positive. So we have 3 minus 5. We don't say 3 plus 5. We're just going to have to do the math, basic math that we know and love. 3 minus 5, that's going to be negative 2. And the absolute value of negative 2 is just 2. And that's my answer. And then you have the absolute value of 3. How far is 3 from 0? Well, we can just say it's 3. This is already positive, so your result should be positive regardless. So the answer is 3 for that one. And I guess that is it from me. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments. I'll see you later. Toodles!